Hello everyone and welcome back to IGN State of Streaming. Our next guest is somebody you've definitely heard before. His music is in everything from Iron Man to Gears of War, and currently every Sunday night on HBO Max in House of the Dragon. Ramin Djawadi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
Hello. First I want to talk about House of the Dragon first, because the music is of course evocative of Game of Thrones, but it also has its own feel as well. How did you go about revisiting your sound from the original series?
Well, the important thing for us always was to keep the DNA alive. So we wanted to call back some of the old themes when we felt was appropriate. But of course, this is before the original Game of Thrones takes place, several hundred years before, and is all new characters. So we thought, of course, we need a bunch of new themes and motifs, and so it was fun to kind of expand on that universe again.
So, Ramin, I have to ask you a follow-up to that, because when I saw episode 2, we got the full intro, and I was like, oh, they went ahead and they used the original score from the first one. Can you tell us, was there any talk behind the scenes about doing a whole new theme, or was it from the very beginning like, let's just use that original theme because it's just so iconic?
Yeah, I think that's a good example. I mean, of tying back the old material with the new, because I think to just, as a franchise, to just connect all of these stories together, I think because in the original too, the main title we always looked at and thought of as an overall arcing theme, obviously, that connects all the characters and the journey and the adventure of this universe, and so we felt this would be appropriate to by connecting it with this main title theme again.
Awesome. Next, I want to go into character themes. So for the characters, do you find that when you're doing your creative process, are you starting from scratch to make themes for each of them, or are there similarities you're drawing out between characters, like between Daenerys and Rhaenyra, for example? Like, are you going back from what you've done in the past, or with these characters, or are you starting completely from scratch?
Well, melodically, I would say I'm starting completely from scratch, meaning it's different notes. However, sonically, I'm drawing back from the original score, meaning there's certain sounds that I will use, that I will have used with the Targaryens in the past, and so that's how I connect the things. But melodically, it's all new.
Well, following up on that too, was there any discussion with the showrunners about narratively what the show score needed to achieve, just from the story from start to finish?
Well, I mean, it's the music has always played a big role in Game of Thrones, right? And as we've always said in the past, there's the music can guide the audience, it can mislead the audience. So the original Game of Thrones, we paid very close attention to how we do the narration with music, and we're definitely planning on doing the same thing here, meaning there will be motifs of mystery motifs and overall plot motifs that will be used to narrate the story, and of course the character themes too. There's a bunch of new character themes that will be used and that will be developed over time in the different episodes.
And I mean, you've worked in all different mediums and genres and entertainment. You've done film, you've done television, you've done video games. Can you talk about your creative approach? Does it differ between mediums, or do you start from the same place? Like, is it all about the story, or is there a difference between film, TV, and video games? I'm just curious, because they seem, especially with video games, it seems so different, but is there really a big difference?
The initial start, there's really not a difference. I mean, there's always, I like to just sit down with my creatives and talk about the collaboration, which is really what is their vision. Are there certain instruments that they like? Is there certain moods that they like? And then just based on that information, I like to start writing music and themes. And then it gets applied in whatever medium I'm in. So with TV and movies, then obviously I will write to picture. The big difference with video games is obviously that a lot of the music that is applied to is not to picture. So I cannot anticipate any sync moments really, and so there you will create maybe 3 minutes of an action piece or a tension piece, and that's just about capturing the mood. That's really the big difference to video games, but the overall approach is always the same for me.
And I want to look ahead a little bit here, if you don't mind. You want to talk about, you have this project coming out called Metal Lords, which you worked with Tom Morello. People know Rage Against the Machine, just iconic group there. Can you talk about what it's like collaborating with a rock musician on a film score?
Oh, we just geeked out. I mean, I grew up. I was a big metalhead as a teenager, and so was Dan. And when we were working on Game of Thrones, I have all these guitars in my room. So in the beginning of the meeting, he would always grab a guitar and we would start riffing and playing. And so this project was a blast to work on, just because we could draw back from all these original inspiration of bands that we loved growing up. So it was a blast rocking out, really.
No, that's really cool. I guess next question goes a little bit back to what we talked about before with working in different mediums and stuff like that. But again, back to your creative process. Let's say when you're writing something for Iron Man versus writing something for a dragon, is there something like for a particular character? Like, where do you start with that process? Like for Iron Man versus a dragon, again, is it, again, like you said, is it always the same thing with the story and the creatives, or is there a difference with those characters?
I mean, there's really various approaches. I mean, a big thing is always in any project really is there a particular instrument or instruments that can be used that can make a particular score difference. I mean, in the case of Iron Man, for example, the electric guitar was always talked about because Iron Man is just Tony Stark is just very rock and roll. So we thought the electric guitar could be appropriate. And with Game of Thrones, it's a totally different approach there. The cello actually is really the dominant instrument, and that's how you really kind of automatically already create different sounds. And obviously in every project I'm trying to be unique for what the project is, and try to find something that really identifies a particular project.
And Ramin, my last question for you goes to talking, because this is our state of streaming here, so I want to talk to you a little bit about streaming. And just from your point of view, in your industry as a composer, have you noticed anything over the last 10 or 12 years? Has the proliferation of streaming impacted composing? I mean, like we always talk about, there just seems to be, there's too much TV, there's too much content, there's too many movies, there's too much to consume. Have you had more opportunities? Have you had to turn more things down? How has the streaming world impacted your career?
Well, I'm not sure if, I mean, there seems to be a lot of content out there. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, for me as a viewer, even, I feel like I've had a tough time just keeping up with when people tell me, "Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that?" Like, I'm definitely behind on all of it. So I guess thinking about that, there's just a lot out there, which of course means there's more work for composers out there, which I guess is an exciting thing.
Ramin, I want to thank you again for being here and taking the time. Everyone, be sure to check out his work on the rest of the season of House of the Dragon and get ready to play some video games with epic music. But first, stick around because we've got more State of Streaming Live coming up right after this.